I think it's more about inclusion than diversity. A focus on diversity means you're bringing people in, but inclusion means they feel like they belong and they can be their whole selves there. When you're just bringing people in who are outside the norm for your, or the norm for your company, it can be really hard to fit in and to feel comfortable bringing your whole self there. And I think it's much more about inclusion than diversity. And I think just focusing on diversity as in bringing in difference from different protected characteristics kind of masks a little bit some of what's going on. Again, it goes back to inclusion. Sorry, I'm possibly going to repeat myself slightly here, but it goes back to inclusion. It's about me being able to bring all of myself to work, me being able to be myself, not only the corporate me, but the queer me, and being both of those identities at the same time, being able to bring them together, because essentially you want me for my brain, people want the way that I think, but that comes with the rest of me. And if you say, oh, but we don't care about the rest of you, we just want your brain, it means, one, you don't see me, it also means you won't make space for people like me. And that's where the problems come in, because people will say things to me like, could you be a little less gay? Or could you be a little less, it's fine being like this in the office, but when you go to clients, could you tone it down a little bit? And things like that make me feel lesser than everyone else. Oh, I've just gone out to change the world. That tends to be what I do. So one of the great things has been actively or proactively talking to people at ThoughtWorks, which was great because when I arrived, I started talking to people about what I needed in terms of being seen for my name, in terms of being able to express my pronouns. So having spaces for my pronouns on all internal systems, so anyone contacting me knows which pronoun to use. Those are some of the strategies that I've used, and they've been very focused on my needs, but one of the things that I want to do is ensure that I'm very intersectional, because I've now got some voice, and I use that voice not just to promote what I need, because I'm genderqueer, but I'm white and I have quite a lot of white privilege. I'm read as middle class mostly, and I want to use those privileges that I've got to raise up other people, to raise up people who are from other minorities that are more impacted by the differences that they have. For example, trans people of colour face much more inequalities than somebody like myself. So being aware of that, I want to ensure that there's always room made for anyone of colour. There's always especially room made for trans people of colour within anything that I do. I think sometimes they think it's just about bringing in one or two people to make up the numbers. Now, that sounds like I'm putting people down, but it's that focus on, okay, so we've got some women and they're junior developers, and we've got some people of colour, and then you suddenly realise that all of your juniors are women, and I've seen this at a couple of places. Your juniors are all women and people of colour, and they never get a chance to progress because they're told, oh, it'd be great if you were more like, and they point to a cis white straight man who, and they say you need to be more assertive like them, and then when a woman tries to be assertive, they're seen as aggressive, or they're read as aggressive. So there's a lot of that, thinking about the behaviours that you want and thinking about how to include those different voices, how to make those different voices heard, how to make space for them. And one of the big things that ThoughtWorks has done is allowed people to allow me to talk about making space, and people have really understood that it's about kind of using your privilege to carve out some space and allow other people to step into it. That's the entirety of my talk. Stories, very quick stories that I can tell. Because I'm a diverse person, one of the things, or seen as a diverse person, one of the things that I don't like is being hired just for the diversity that I can bring, because that doesn't respect me as the really good business analyst, service designer that I am. Stories that I can tell. The one that I'll tell is one of the most positive stories. So I just joined ThoughtWorks. I was about a month, 6 weeks into the company, and our COO was asking me would I be interested in a particular role, and it was a travel role. It was with a finance client, and it was my first time leading a particular style of workshops. So we sat down and we talked it through and spent about an hour talking it through with me. And at the end, I should have been more relaxed, because generally once you've talked this through, the person becomes more relaxed, and I was still nervous. And he was kind of like, what's the problem? And I said, well, my hair's blue. It takes about 2 days to get this back to blonde, and then the only other colour it will go will be bright orange, because whatever dye I use on it will just end up bright orange. So if you need my hair to be any other colour, you've got to give me 2 days notice, and you've got to be prepared for the fact that I will walk up with bright orange hair. And he turned and said to me, that's okay. If they don't want the blue hair, we don't want them as a client. And it was the first time in 20-something years of my career that somebody had turned around and said, how you dress, how you present yourself is fine. The rest of the world will have to change to fit you, and we'll back you in that. So another ThoughtWorks one, because why not? We went to a client that had a dress code that was effectively, we boiled it down because we went through the gender dress code and asked them what was the actual things that they wanted people, what were the things that they didn't want people to wear. And it was basically no jeans, no t-shirts, no sneakers. Now, that's 90% of my clothing is jeans, t-shirts and sneakers, like all people in tech. So I turned up in brogues, mismatched tweed and paisley. And the team totally backed me on that, because what they understood was that I was being myself within the rules. I'd understood the rules, I was respecting the rules, I was respecting the client, but I was also being completely true to me. And they just loved the fact that I turned up looking like this explosion of colour in a company that was very black and white. Everyone wore very much the same black and white suits. And I think it's really amazing to have people who look at you and trust you to make adult decisions about these things, because I know how to be me, and I know how to be me very well. And if you support me, I'll be me even better.